The Ōei Invasion, known as the Jihara Eastern Expedition in Korea, was a 1419 invasion from Joseon against pirate bases on Tsushima Island, which is located in the middle of the Tsushima Strait between the Korean peninsula and Kyushu. The Japanese identifying phrase derives from the Ōei era, which is the Japanese era name of the calendar system then in use in Japan. The corollary Korean identifying title derives from Jihara in the Chinese sexagenary cycle of the calendar system then in use in Joseon. In both, the terms are explicit equivalents for the Gregorian calendar year of 1419. Background: from about 1400, despite its incorporation into the Japanese political order before the Goryeo dynasty, Tsushima were located on the front lines that defended Japanese territory for much of its history. Historically, a large part of Tsushima's economy was sustained by trade with Korea. It was used as a frontier territory, and a diplomatic meeting place between Korea and Japan, but was considered historically by Koreans as a vassal or dependent state of Korea. Despite a variety of changes in terminology over the ages designed to indicate its status as being in the Japanese sphere of influence, it was considered by many Koreans to be Korean land under foreign occupation. From the end of the Goryeo dynasty through the early Joseon dynasty, the coastal regions of Korea, the populations, and their resources were often the objective of gaikō raids. In 1389, General Pak Wai of Goryeo cleared the island of gaikō pirates. He burnt 300 ships and rescued more than 100 Korean captives. The Joseon dynasty ordered a strengthening of Korean naval defenses, a strategic response to the constant threat posed by the pirates. In 1396, Korean official Kim Sa-hyong led a campaign into Tsushima. Joseon subsequently asked the Ashikaga shogunate and its deputy in Kyushu to suppress pirate activity, favoring legitimate traders. In exchange for certain privileges, it gave authority to Sosadashiga over ships sailing from Japan to Korea. When Sosadashiga died in 1418, power was seized from Sadashiga's infant son Sadamori by Soda Simontero, a powerful pirate leader. Suffering from famine, pirates on Tsushima invaded Ming China in 1419. On the way to China, they invaded Korea's Bayan and Hija country after their requests for food were rejected. After receiving reports of these incidents, the Korean court approved an expedition of Tsushima. Taizong, who had abdicated his throne in 1418 but was still a military advisor of Sejong the Great, favored a more offensive approach. On June 9, 1419, Taizong declared a war against Tsushima, citing that it belonged to Joseon, and Yi Jong-mu was chosen to conduct the expedition. Invasion. The Koreans waited until her large Japanese fleet had left the island for a raid. Yi Jong-mu's fleet of 227 ships and 17,285 soldiers set off from Gyeoye Island toward Tsushima on June 19, 1419. The following day the fleet landed in Aso Bay. General Yi Jong-mu first sent captured Japanese pirates as emissaries to ask for surrender. When he received no reply, he sent out expeditionary forces, and the soldiers proceeded to raid the islanders and pirates and plunder pirate settlements. He found and rescued 131 Chinese captives of the pirates and 21 slaves on the island, burned 129 ships and 1,939 houses, and killed or captured 135 pirates. On the 26th day, the Korean army was ambushed on land by a Japanese army in an ambush at Nii, and suffered 150 casualties. The ambush was known to the locals as the Battle of Nukadake. In the weeks that followed, a truce was negotiated with the So clan on the island. The Korean expeditionary force withdrew and sailed back to the Korean peninsula on July 3, 1419, and Korea gave up occupation of Tsushima. In subsequent diplomatic exchanges, Tsushima would be granted trading privileges with Joseon. in exchange for maintaining control and order of pirate threats originating from the island. Aftermath. A treaty was negotiated between Joseon and the So clan on January 1420. The Joseon government agreed to grant the So clan limited trading privileges and access to 3 coastal Korean ports, under the condition that the So clan control and stop any coastal pirate raids. On the 6th day of the 7th month in 1422, an emissary from the So clan requested freedom for Japanese prisoners of war captured by the Korean forces. He offered tributes of copper and sulfur in return. On the 20th day 12th month in 1422, all Japanese prisoners of war were released. In 1443, the daimyo of Tsushima, Sosadamori, proposed a Kieha treaty. The number of trade ships from Tsushima to Korea was decided by this treaty, and the So clan monopolized the trade with Korea. In 1510, Japanese traders initiated an uprising against Joseon's stricter policies on Japanese traders from Tsushima and Ikki coming to Busan, Ulsan and Jinhe to trade. The So clan supported the uprising, but it was eventually suppressed by local authorities. The uprising was later came to be known as the Japanese Riots in 3 ports. A more restrictive treaty was reimposed under the direction of King Yeongjong in 1512, but this Treaty of Imzin was enacted only under strictly limited terms, and only 25 ships were allowed to visit Joseon annually until Japanese riots in Sariangjin in 1544. The Korean export included rice, cotton, ginseng, and sutra texts. In exchange, the So clan provided copper, tin, sulfur, medicinal herbs, and spices from both Tsushima Island and Japan. The So clan became a trading hub between Korea and Japan and benefited greatly from it. The relationship between Korea and residents of Tsushima Island greatly improved thereafter. There were numerous records of hospitality towards shipwrecked Korean sailors who ended up on the island, and merchants from Tsushima Island enjoyed special privileges in Korean ports. Aftermath. According to Japanese sources, in Kyoto, rumors of the invasion spread around the end of the 6th month. The raid was associated with the Mongol invasions of Japan. Between the 7th and 8th month, Shonimitsu Sada, the overlord of the So clan, reported to the Ashikaga shogunate that the Shoni's deputy Soyumon had defeated Korean invaders. However, Korean captives were reported to have stated that forces from Ming China were planning to invade Japan. Since Shogun Ashikaga Yoshimochi took a harder stance toward the Ming than his father Yoshimitsu, the threat was taken seriously by the shogunate. Later, the shogun received a report from the Kyushu deputy. Since it was considerably different from the Shoni's version, the shogun felt the necessity of examining Korea's real intentions. In a letter to Sosadamori issued on the 15th of the 7th month, the Joseon claimed that Tsushima belonged to Gyeongsang province and asked him to leave the island, either by coming to the Korean peninsula or by retreating to mainland Japan. In the 9th month, a man who claimed to be an envoy of Sosadamori arrived in Korea. The conditions he presented seemed unsatisfactory to the Joseon. Tarazong made similar demands of the envoy in the 10th month. According to the article on the 10th day of the first leap month of 1420 of Sejong Silik, the same self-claimed envoy verbally agreed to Korea's proposal to put Tsushima under the rule of Gyeongsang province. On the 23rd of that month, the Korean court approved of this agreement. However, in later negotiations it was revealed that the envoy was not actually a representative of Sosadamori. In the 11th month of 1419, envoys of Ashikaga Yoshimochi visited Korea. In return, King Sejong sent Song Hui-jeong to Japan. The diplomatic mission left the Joseon capital on the 15th day of the first leap month of 1420. The envoy continued on Busan on the 15th day of the second month. On the 21st, he met Soda Simontero on Tsushima as Sosadamori stayed with the Shoni clan in Heizan province. He arrived in Kyoto in the 4th month. Having accomplished his mission, he left Kyoto in the 6th month, returning to Korea after completing negotiations with the Shōni clans in Kyushu. He arrived in the capital in the 10th month, 1420. This trip corrected mutual misunderstandings between Japan and Korea. In Tsushima, Song received a protest from Soda Montero over a Korean document that stated Tsushima's dependence on Korea. He warned of the Shōni clan's possible military action. Song realized that Sadamori had not been involved in the previous negotiations, and also learned of the Su clan's vassalage to the Shōni clan. These realizations overturned Korea's plans towards Tsushima. In Kyoto, Song clarified that the Joseon had no intention of invading Japan. On their way back, Korean envoys faced the So and Shōni's hardline attitude toward the Joseon. In the 4th month of 1421, a letter under the name of So Sadamori demanded the return of Japanese captives and pointed out Korea's claim over Tsushima. It is noted that the Japanese envoy took advantage of the shogunate's authority, which can frequently be found in the So clan's later diplomatic talks with Korea. By the order of Taizong, Korea took a tough stance against the So clan. Although Soda's messengers visited Korea several times, they did not reach a settlement until 1423. The death of the hardline Taizong in the 5th month of 1422 softened Korea's policy toward Japan. Under Sejong, Joseon relinquished its claims to Tsushima and decided to grant trade privileges to the So clan in exchange for its duty to maintain trade order. Aftermath. According to Korean sources, in 1419, King Sejong, under the advice of his father and former King Taizong, decided to attack the enemy at Tsushima while the pirates were engaged in conflict with China. In the May 1419, notice of this plan was sent as an ultimatum to the Tsushima province authorities. In the war declaration against Tsushima government, the king claimed Tsushima, known as Daemedo in Korean, had degraded due to the lack of interference on pirate activities by the local authority. Korea repeated necessary involvement in the island's operations. By aiding in the recent famine and general trade route policing led the ruler to declare the land would be reclaimed by force in order to protect the integrity of the region. During the conflicts, 180 Korean soldiers were killed. Another source recorded that about 100 Korean soldiers were killed and about 20 Japanese soldiers were killed. The Korean soldiers burned 2,007 houses and 124 ships, and beheaded 123 pirates. The Korean forces also discovered Chinese and Korean captives there. The Korean armies were able to send 146 Chinese and 8 Korean hostages back to their homelands after releasing them from pirate captivity. Korean official Yoo Chong-hyun reported 180 Korean soldiers were dead during the expedition. In the July 1419, King Taireo sent a letter to Tsushima's So Sadamori laying claim to the historical repossession of Daemedo due to the Korean victory in war. Once again the land was Korean territory as it had been under the Kingdom of Silla. An arrangement was proposed for Tsushima to enter into a tributary relationship. In the 9th month of 1419 Sadamori sent an emissary to surrender the territory, and to present a variety of tribute to the Korean court. In the January of 1420, a Japanese envoy visiting Seoul requested to have a copy of Tripitaka Koreana, a comprehensive Buddhist script held in great regard as a Korean national treasure. King Sejong granted the request, his sign of friendship between two countries. In the first leap month of 1420 Sadamori requested that the island officially become a state of Korea under the name of Daemedo, also promising to personally become a subject and to manage the Wokou situation as an independent act of the state. King Sejong granted this request as well as allowing Sadamori to report to Gyeongsang province rather than Seoul.